And welcome to another episode of the Switch Gang interview series. Today, we are thrilled to have with us Ena Kapetanovic, CEO and founder of ARQ Labs, a Sarajevo-based impact venture specialized in disability tech. Honestly, I'm super excited about this conversation. And if you, like me, are keen to learn more about entrepreneurship, innovation, tech, and what it takes to design truly inclusive solutions, just stay with us. So without further ado, our welcome to you, Ena, and thank you so much for joining us today to share your story with the SwitchGang community.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be, a part of your interview, and I hope to do my best and to kind of like translate my story in the best way possible.
For sure. Thank you, Ena, for joining us. You have a really unique story. So could you tell the audience a bit about yourself? Who is Ena?
Oh, wow. That's a really tough question. I think like I can describe myself and just, stick with a description forever. I believe if a person wants to, thrive and be the best version of themselves, they should always be learning and changing and adapting. But, just in a couple of sentences, I'm currently based in Sarajevo. I'm a woman, I'm a traveler, an entrepreneur, a founder, wheelchair user, a citizen of the world, and I believe a myriad of other words. So I was born in 1995 during the civil war in my country of Bosnia. And we moved so much during that period in an attempt, to flee from the war. And when I was 3 years old, I was diagnosed with a disease called spinal muscular atrophy type 3. And by the age of 12, my condition got worse to the point where I was forced to start using wheelchair, and I was having trouble even standing for a couple of minutes. And now I'm 26, and so over half of my life I've spent sitting and looking at the world from a lower perspective, and and having to live with these with that challenge made a huge impact in my life.
Yeah, Ena, and having to experience the transition from moving from full to reduce motor ability must not have been easy. I mean, having myself a sister who suffers a similar condition, I'm aware of the daily struggles and barriers you encounter every single day when interacting with the world. And I also know that many of us do not even notice them. I'm just curious to know how has been your experience so far living this change in your life?
Yeah, so considering the fact that I grew up as a differently able person, in a war-affected developing country, I was forced to find alternative solutions to the majority of challenges I was faced with. That includes things like, not having a complete accessibility to my university. I didn't have an elevator whatsoever, no designated table for wheelchairs. I was always looking for people to, help me go to the classroom, so I would be able to, to finish my university. And then an accessible local transportation, which is a major issue in my country. In Sarajevo, which is the capital city. Today, in 2021, we only have 5 buses with a ramp, and only 2 of them drive a few blocks away from my house. I remember, a few years ago, I was visiting Berlin, and I decided to go see this beautiful castle in a town nearby called Potsdam. And it was Sunday, the end of May, 33 degrees, really, really hot. And in the middle of our visit, my tire slashed on a piece of glass on the road. And now in Germany, on Sundays, every repair shop is closed. So only restaurants and coffee shops is open, and every repair shop, including those for cars, bicycles, and especially for the wheelchair, is closed. And I had to Google every repair shop in my vicinity, and I was so lucky to find just one that was open until 5 5 o'clock. And then I had to cut short my visit, and my friends had to, drive me for a full hour and a half with a slashed tire throughout this old town full of cobblestones in order to catch the train to that small town between Potsdam and Berlin, in order for me to repair my tire. And we caught the last train and got 10 minutes before the closing time. And to this day, I'm so grateful, to the guys who worked after hours to fix my tire. And they even gave me a discount at the end of it. So, and now when I reflect on all of these experiences and things, I'm super grateful because they have made me more resilient and taught me invaluable lessons that I even use today in my personal and both in my business life.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I mean, I think if we reflect about it, it's in a way, exclusion is everywhere in places where we don't think about it. From the opening hours of a shop can make a huge difference in a personal life. Yeah, it's incredible. And I think it's actually these lived experiences, your life, that trigger you to do something about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in 2019, I went on an Erasmus exchange in Slovenia. And that was the first time in my life I was actually living and traveling by myself. And all these travel experiences I had opened up some new worlds for me and really broadened my perspectives. But it also made me realize that there was a systemic problem with people being discriminated against based on their ability. And through my own experience, I have actually discovered how to connect this business and social purpose. And that's how ARQ Labs idea was born. So ARQ Labs is an impact venture that is specialized in disability tech. So my vision is to enable people like me, people with disabilities, to lead a fully independent life while creating the tech of the future. And I'm really proud of my mission to, build products with purpose and create a community of impact makers such as myself. Because I believe what really matters the most is the challenges our society is facing, and how can we better solve them, how can we better cater to the needs of some of the most neglected groups of our society. So our mission is to make products, tools, and services that make everyday life easier and possible for people with disabilities, and to really be part of the stories of those people who inspire us.
Incredible. And it's interesting because in one of our previous interviews, we got a tip from another fellow entrepreneur that was saying, make sure that when you start a business, you understand your problem well. And the best way to understand your problem is really having lived the problem yourself. So I think you already have a first ingredient of success, which is amazing. And now, Ena, I would like to focus on the definition you've given me. You said that ARQ Lab is an impact venture or social enterprise specialized in disability tech. And I think it would be really interesting if you don't mind, if we break down this definition for the audience to better understand exactly what's the philosophy and the approach behind ARQ Labs. And maybe we can start with social enterprise. What do you mean by social enterprise?
Yeah, so like for me, social entrepreneurship and social enterprise in its essence means taking, these life stories and struggles of the people and creating compelling social business models to empower not just individuals, but communities for both economic development and sustainability. So I see it as a pathway to the solutions of some of more major issues facing modern society, and innovation is an integral element of it to ensure economic growth and prosperity. I remember I've told you this sentence on our first conversation, that there is always a way for businesses to do good while doing well. A social enterprise or an impact venture does business with an intention of producing, positive, measurable social and environmental impact alongside superior financial returns. So the focus is on answering the question, does our mission create an individual benefit that is also perceived as an important social good. I truly believe that society and the world is at a point of time where users and customers are spending more on brands that are associated with a cause, and actually engaging with companies around social and environmental issues. So there's a big distinction when, for example, when a for-profit business finds a way to create value for the customer or for the user, it has generally found its its source of revenue. The customer pays for the revenue, and then with rare exceptions, that is not true for the nonprofit sector. So when a nonprofit finds a way to create value for the user, it has not identified its its economic engine, let's call it like that. And then social enterprise is a purpose-driven business model that combines those two models, those two philosophies. And at ARQ Labs, we believe that a desire to make an impact does not hinder business profitability. And we really kind of like hope to demonstrate that by our example.
Yes, and it would be interesting if you can. I know it's just starting up. ARQ Labs is like 1 year old, if I'm not wrong. What's the business model of ARQ Labs? Like, how are you planning to make money?
Yeah, so we have a triple business model. So we are focusing on the end user, which are people with disabilities, and we will make products that are fully accessible, fully inclusive for them. And then in order to raise awareness for those products, we will include also governmental institutions. And then we will collaborate with private sector in order to raise capital to build more products, and to invest that capital into employing more women with disabilities, employing people, and making this diversity a plethora of diversity in our own company, because we truly believe that diversity and inclusion are the main drivers of the business success.
Fantastic. And I think it's also interesting to think for entrepreneurs that are different revenue streams. It doesn't need to come from just one customer, just one type of investor. You mentioned already private, public sector. So it's really like these hybrid models could be also like a good way to find your economic drivers behind your business. No, incredible. And Ena, now going back to the definition, we covered social enterprise, and then we have disability. How do you define disability at ARQ Labs, and how that is it different, if anything, from the most common ways of conceiving disability?
Yeah, great question. So people kind of like have these two distinct definitions of disability. From a medical point of view, a disability is defined as any type of deviation from normality that is caused by disease or trauma or a health condition. So in other words, it's perceived, as an individual attribute, and all the problems relating to disability stem from individual functional limitations. On the other side, we have this social model that is centered around the idea that disability can be seen as a social construct, and disabilities are the products of the failure of the physical and social environment. And they take into the account the needs of particular individual or the groups. And then, the disadvantage and discrimination, exclusion, inequality many people with disabilities experience are therefore not taken for granted, but they are perceived as a form of injustice which requires a legal and political response. And at ARQ Labs, we actually replaced the word disability with the word challenge. And I believe, for me, this stems from my own feeling of, incompetence when someone would call me a person with disability. So I actually changed the way I was perceiving it. And then I consider disability solely as a challenge and a way to be creative and figuring out alternative solutions in my daily life, but also as a way to design products by, drawing out the full range of human diversity and disability. So I really consider, inclusive design to take into the account all of the users and different abilities as a product or a service is being developed. So from the start to the finish. And with this inclusive and human-centered design, a person with disability or a person with a challenge is simply just another, individual with these life stories and specific lived experiences. And I truly believe that companies who actually design for different abilities and design, including the individuals with disabilities, will create better solutions and experiences for all users, and therefore have better business outcomes.
It's really interesting. The second definition about being it also a social construct is, in a way, is how we design our world that can create disabilities and exclusion. So it's not always about the person who is having the challenge, but actually the system that is creating challenges to people. Exactly. to be overcome. And it would be interesting, just like trying to challenge, not challenging use, but like to enable like the audience to get bigger, more example. Like, would you say then a person with more challenges is just a person on a wheelchair? Or what are other examples of people that might be facing challenges?
Yeah, so challenge does not mean only people in the wheelchairs. It means people with visual impairment. It means people with hearing problems. It means mothers with kids in strollers who are actually facing the exact same problems as people in the wheelchairs. It means people with mental health issues, all those challenges that are forcing people to come up with alternative solutions in their daily lives in order to have a full and quality life and experience everything the life has to offer for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is important for all of us to broaden our mind when we think about challenges. Actually, people that we would say you have no challenges, actually maybe one day you wake up and you have a challenge that you didn't realize. And I mean, Ena, we had the first conversation before these interviews, and I'm super amazed about actually all like your lived experiences made you more resilient and even more creative. Like when you said like this challenge enabled me to figure out creative ways to come up with new alternatives to actually do the job, make the job. And I think it's also a resource for entrepreneurs when you're starting up, low resources, and you have to find your way, right?
Yeah. Having to live with this challenge, I decided to take an action and build a new platform where, people of all abilities can move and travel with freedom, accessibility, and respect. And at the moment, I'm preparing to launch WeMap, which is a fully customized mobile navigation app for people with impaired mobility. So I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but 650 million people in the world have some sort of disability. And out of those 650, 131 million have mobility impairment, and 80 million of them live in European Union. And we all face the same problems. So most of our cities, haven't been designed with the needs of different body or ability types in mind. And able-bodied people usually choose the shortest path, but differently abled people might choose a longer route that does not include an uphill or a downhill, for example. And they or we tried before, but we have been turned back by a barrier or an obstacle or or just a bad experience when we go visit some new city or some new public place or anything like that. So this is kind of like my own story, and why I decided to take an action and create an ARQ Labs, because I really believe that accessibility isn't just another mobile app feature. It's really a social trend, and this app will change the way people with impaired mobility navigate not just their cities but abroad, through knowledge sharing and mapping out the best routes for different abilities. It really represents, a new way of thinking about this problem and about this challenge, and puts the control right into the hands of the users.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting. So in just over a year, you started ARQ Labs, and now you're already busy building the next startup, which is really great and admirable. And WeMap, like you mentioned it, as far as I understand, is sort of a ways. If for people that don't know, basically it's like crowdsourcing the knowledge of the community to understand, right, where are the challenges and the barriers in mobility when you're moving around cities, right?
Yes, so I like to consider WeMap as a disguise in a mobile app, which is actually social entrepreneurship at the service of urban mobility and inclusivity. And the app is community-based. So it's a platform that helps people with mobility difficulties to move safely and independently anywhere by mapping out the best routes for them. So it's actually oriented towards creating a map that contains route obstacle and accessibility detection, and therefore provides personalized routes based on mobility, on motor ability. So the application actually collects data, and its algorithm calculates the best route and makes route planning changes in real time, with each update of the that is shared by the users of the app. So all of this data actually compiles into an assistance for others. So as you move through the city, the app will plan out the best routes for you and warn you about the potential blocks. So by using the app, the users reduce the time required for planning, the stress, and most importantly, their emotional pain. So throughout community knowledge sharing and crowdsourcing of accessibility information, every citizen and user can help make society more inclusive, more accessible, and more equitable for all. So by creating this app, we make the change through the community, and we inspire others to add data and create accessibility together with us.
Yeah, and how has been your approach from conceiving to developing WeMap? Like earlier in the conversation, you said that design for accessibility and inclusion is something that starts from day one. So I'm curious if you can walk us through the different steps you went through to design WeMap and how it relates with your philosophy within ARQ Labs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so firstly, I draw from my own experience. So I think that was the most important part of designing this solution. I myself lived this experience on a daily basis. So I believe, I'm the best person to come up with a solution that will cater to every single of my need. So the most important part of the application itself is actually the accessibility setup, where, for example, a person can set up the percentage of uphill, the percentage of downhill, and then the width of any doors or any pathways or something like that, in order to have fully customized solution and fully personalized according to their own abilities. So for myself, let's say, for example, I know that I have enough strength in my arms to push myself on the uphill of 30%, downhill of 35%, and every single door has to be at minimum 50 centimeters wide in order for me to pass through them. And these things are truly important for me, and not just for me, because people often have this common misconception that wheelchair users and people with impaired mobility have the same needs, which is totally not true. And I think the most important part in designing the solution is to, put yourself into your user's shoes and try to understand them better, try to look at the world from their perspective, and then you can, try to and go ahead with this development stage.
Yeah, and I think like, because one of part of the definition was also technology, and definitely WeMap, it's all about using and leveraging technology to design a more inclusive mobility in cities. And I'm really like you and I could say a tech geek for the audience. So maybe you can explain a little bit better, but I'm really curious to understand why technology is a core pillar of ARQ Lab's proposition.
Yeah, so innovation, for me, innovation and especially technology is an integral part of any business or any entrepreneurial thing that you want to do to actually ensure economic growth and prosperity. So being innovative and keeping up with the technology is the crucial aspect. But right now, the business ecosystem is at the point of time where innovation needs a more social, more human-centered approach, because technology without the right intention actually serves no purpose. And one part of the ecosystem has been developing in the recent years following the technological takeoff, and that's the technology social ventures, which ARQ Labs essentially is. So these technology social ventures represent a unique genre of social venture which attempts to, satisfy a social need throughout technological innovation in a kind of like financially sustainable manner. And at ARQ Labs, we do exactly that. To make this ambitious vision of fully inclusive society come true, we must constantly adjust our path to our vision, which is based on how the world is changing, and that especially includes technology. I really believe, the tech has the power to change the way we live and we interact, not just only with each other, but with the world. And innovation really plays a key role in this journey towards more sustainable inclusion and growth. And tech is really a catalyst for inclusion. For example, let's say take simple things like audiobooks that enable visually impaired people to read, or e-learning platforms that have the power to provide education to the most remote places in our planet Earth. So, and when you add this perspective of inclusive design principles that actually support this, human plus machine or human plus tech collaboration, then technology really becomes essential to development of this inclusive and fair and unbiased solutions.
Yeah, and you mentioned design, like use technology with intention. And I think like at the end, like my takeaway from the conversation now is it's all about intention. What's your intention? Like, what are you designing for? What's your objective? And then it relates back also to business. Like your initial point is like social enterprises are purpose-led businesses. So it's all come down to what's your purpose and what's the impact that you want to create in the world, and then use all the tools that you want to pursue that intention. And so the difference at the end is, what's your purpose? Is it a positive purpose or it's a negative or harming purpose? And I think like the change that you are advocating, really like, let's use business and technology and all the knowledge that we have as society to drive forward a better world, a better society, for all of us. So it's really great, like this thread about what's your intention, and make sure you follow that. And Ena, like just over a year, you launched ARQ Labs. Now you launch WeMap, and I think you are really on the right track to become a serial entrepreneur at such a young age. So I'm just curious, what has been your experience so far, like your journey as a founder?
Yeah, wow. I think somehow I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but at the young age, I had absolutely no idea what kind of business I wanted to build. I just knew that, my passion was to connect with people, build products, and make an impact. And technology industry just found me. 2.5 years ago, when I returned from my Erasmus exchange in Slovenia, I got a job in a digital advertising company. And then the pandemic hit and we started working from home, and I completely, and I mean completely, erased boundaries between home and work. I really got to the point where I was working 12 to 16 hours a day in my red dotted pajamas for something that I wasn't really, it wasn't really fulfilling me, and I wasn't happy. It wasn't making me happy, and it wasn't making an impact. I didn't have that feeling of, contributing to the society. And then I quit my poorly paid job, full-time job, in the middle of the COVID-19 and the economic crash that followed, and dedicated myself to creating ARQ Labs. And this
Which
has
is
been
a great sign of bravery, I would say. Take risks.
Exactly. I think you have to, you have to be a risk taker in order to succeed in business, especially in technology industry. And this really has been and still is a huge personal sacrifice, in both in terms of financial, mentally, emotionally. But I really, have a strong belief in my vision to such an extent that I'm repurposing every single cent of our funds to fuel ARQ Labs growth. When you're a wheelchair user or a wheelchair pilot, as I like to call myself, with a limited ability, you largely depend on other people to help you with some things and with your mobility. So to have this independence and freedom in terms of, career choice and business is something that really excites me the most, and that's the reason why I chose to become a founder. So the diversity of experiences that I get to have on a daily basis really, give me this rush I was lacking on my previous jobs and I was looking for. This startup life is really different. The pace is different. It's filled with utmost uncertainty, and you have no clear career path. I mean, today I still don't know what can I become and what can ARQ Labs become in the next 20 years, let's say. I just have the vision. I'm still not sure how will I be able to get to that vision. And it really involves, making several trade-offs, as I mentioned before, financially, mentally, and emotionally. But those, these risks are, the draws that I was looking for to let me live more. And it's a really long journey. I'm still at the start. It has been only 1 year. And the journey from this small idea to an established business or even a movement, accessibility movement, and the path actually leading the here and the future. I mean, it wasn't easy and it will not be easy, I'm for sure. But I really believe, my determination and my motivation to succeed and to feel fully independent while creating an impact will continue to push me forward for many, many years to come.
That's incredible. I mean, I think you're showing that entrepreneurship is not an easy journey, and for everyone to be aware, like you need to be ready for it. But when there is the passion that moves it moves everything, and I think it's what keeps you for the up and the downs, but the purpose, it's what drives you forward. And what would you say, even if it's just starting up, it's just 1 year, like I'm sure that every day you have been learning something. So what have been like your key takeaways or key learning this past year for you?
Oh, wow. So I've really gotten to know myself. If anything, being a founder has made me learn more about myself, learn more about business ecosystem, and also it made me, reflect on all my past experiences and how can I use those experiences to develop solutions and to stay motivated and stay on my path to succeed and to have the success I always dreamed of. And I think that that's the most for me the most important part of being a founder. So you get to know yourself in a way that you wouldn't be able if you were at your 9-to-5 job.
And how do you see this, like more like self-learning, self-awareness, gonna influence like what's coming next for you? Like, are there things that you know that now that you know yourself better, you will do differently in some way?
Yeah, I think I will not be as biased and as subjective in decision making. Decision making is one of the hardest things for a founder to do, whether it be making a decision on your co-founder, or whether you are going to hire someone or fire someone. That's a two-way street. Whether you are going to collaborate with one company and not with the other. So like decision making has to be unbiased, has to be objective, and you have to have the intentions of everyone involved in creating a startup on your mind. So yeah, I think that would be the most kind of like the important thing for me.
No, fantastic. And I think it really ties to design for inclusion. Cognitive bias is definitely something important to keep in mind for all of us. And Ena, we are coming towards the end of our great conversation. And at the Switch Gang, we always like to conclude our interviews with practical tips for our audience. And one of the fundamental principle shift we advocate for businesses in the 21st century is what we like to call less exclude, more distribute. And at ARQ Labs, I think you're definitely hitting the mark on this one. So I'm really curious to understand what would be your top tips for aspiring or fellow entrepreneurs that want to start to build truly inclusive products, services, and experiences. Like, where should they start and why?
Yeah, so my advice is to first practice deepening your empathy, because I really believe empathy is the first step for building products with purpose. And when you have empathy, you will be able to put yourself in your customers' shoes and learn from them and better understand them and their pain points. Because when you have empathy, then when you create empathy, you create awareness, and when you create awareness, you will be able to create a movement. When you create movement, you will be able to create to share and to create something together with the society. And then you think about the values that you would love to see in your own products or in your business. Emotions and values are really strong drivers of empathy. And the next thing then that would be I'm gonna use the Nike motto, is just do it, just go for it. You might have an idea on how to make a change or an impact, but idea without an action is just an unfulfilled potential. So take my example with every ounce of passion and determination that you have. Just go for it, but be willing to be patient. I know I'm still, a year in my own venture, but I've had major ups and downs, and they've taught me to be really patient, because our job as entrepreneurs and founders, when things get really tough, when things are not as we wish them to be, is not to say, oh, I'm just gonna get through this, I'm just going to keep going, everything will be fine. Our job is actually to say, okay, what is it that I can do to build the thing I'm really passionate about, and to bring it into this world. And then lastly, this next thing serves me personally as a constant reminder and a beacon for building truly inclusive products, tools, services, and experiences, is that we as individuals and society as a whole are better defined by what we share than what we have. Because when we have full inclusivity, everyone in the world will have the freedom and access to experience the wonders of the world and the beautiful journey what we all call life.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And with these great pieces of advice, a couple of that are very, very good, I think, like, Ena, we can conclude this great conversation by asking you just one thing. How can our audience engage with and support ARQ Labs and all the great work you're doing to make this world really a better place for all life?
At the moment, we are preparing to launch our pilot project that we talked about, WeMap. And during our initial process, we raised funds from a few international organizations and institutions who are also supporting us with their network. We are at the point where to achieve our next milestone, we need additional funds and expertise in mobile app development, market expanding, business development, and so on. On the other hand, our landing page is currently being under construction, but we hope we will be live in the maybe next month or 2 months. In the meantime, anyone who is interested, please feel free to reach out directly to me on my email address, ena.kapetanovic 19@gmail.com, or on my LinkedIn page. I'm always looking for innovative talent, partners, supporters to join us. So anyone who is interested in being a part of my and our story can drop me a line on the previously mentioned contact. Also, then you can follow the journey of WeMap on our Instagram page at we_map, and you can pre-sign on the link in bio for the mobile app and also for the newsletter, so you can get the progress and the launching info delivered right to your inbox.
Thank you. Amazing. And I think we will share also, when we are going to post this interview, all the details, so our community can definitely support ARQ Labs and WeMap. So thank you so much for your time today, and all the best with everything.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I was super happy to talk to you and to have this digital space to share my story, to raise awareness for not just my cause, but for the cause that is really truly important for 650 million people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.